All right, so this is the PA18 FMS 1300mm Carbon Sports Cub. It's a sort of a high wing trainer model, and I picked it up for 150 bucks off a fellow club member. And I thought I'd use this plane to sort of showcase what I do when it comes to getting a new model. So this Super Cub has all the electronics installed. So let's have a look and see what we're dealing with. So we have here an XT60 plug, which is good. And I have a matching 4S XT60 battery there. What I need to do as well is make sure that the ESC can handle that level of power in case it's a 3S model. What else have we got? Flaps, elevator, ailerons, and lighting. So we should be able to have some front-facing lights, and it appears like the tires here are pneumatic as well. Not sure exactly how to fill them up, but there's a little button on the back here. I wonder if that's sort of a valve. Either way though, the plane's really nicely built. It's foam, obviously. I can see a motor in there. It looks like it has a 850 kV motor, so I'd be very surprised if this can't take 4S. But what I want to do is show you with my Spectrum remote how I go about setting this plane up. So I need to go into my models, and I scroll down, add a new model, create. We need to model select. So I'm in the model now, acro. We can name it, so let's change the name to let's call it C Carbon. All right, and we'll click back. Aircraft type. So we've got a normal wing, we've got a dual aileron, flaperon, one aileron, one flap, one aileron, two flaps, two ailerons, one flap. So what we're actually looking for is one aileron, one flap. Now the reason, even though the plane has servo here and here, if we actually follow the cables, you'll see that the flaps are in a Y harness here. So that Y harness is telling that the receiver is only taking one input. So we can go ahead and get this all bound up. So I need to take the one that's connected to the ESC, which is throttle, and I need to find the appropriate throttle plug, and I need to look at the direction of the positive and negative. So here we have black as the negative, and we face that out for this receiver. This receiver is also not bound at the moment, so I need to go into my toolkit and pull out a bind key, a bind plug. What a bind plug does is short circuits the receiver, and it will put it into binding mode. So now that I've programmed the plane, I've got normal aileron, one flap, normal tail. Make sure I'm on Carbon Cub. I'll turn off the transmitter, like so. I'll make sure that I'm safe and not touching the prop. I'll plug the plane in, and it's good to be able to see the receiver there. See how it's strobing? That means we're in bind mode. So holding the top button here and turning the plane on, and I'll hold the plane so nothing goes wrong. You'll see here it says binding, and we just have to wait. Bind failed. That does happen, so I've got to turn it off and try again. Okay, so now we've set it up. I've got myself a 3S battery pack, which is what this plane takes. I've got my bind key in the throttle section, and I've got my transmitter off. So I like to make sure that I'm clear of the prop. Let's plug it in. I can see that this is flashing. I can hear that the transmitter is sort of beeping, trying to bind. I can hold down my bind button on the top here and turn on the transmitter. Okay, so I just managed to get it bound, and I can tell that it's bound by a quick little burp of the throttle. See that? Let's unplug the bind key whilst it's still powered on, and unplug the battery. Okay, now we need to program the fact that full throttle is full throttle. So with the transmitter on, you turn it up to full throttle and plug in the plane. That series of beeps there is showing me that low is on is off. Before, when I had this at no throttle, it was still spooling up, so now that I've programmed full throttle. Alright, let's start working through the rest of the flight controls. So I like to unplug the battery whenever I'm working on the plane. Let's have a look. So we have flaps, elevator, we have unnamed, rudder. So these two unnamed ones are most likely ailerons, and they're going to require a Y lead to split them. And I can tell that they're ailerons because there's two of them, and the elevator, rudder and flaps are all accounted for over here. These two here are effectively just lights, so we need two Y leads to really get this plane going. So I'm going to go and get a couple of those. Okay, here's my Y leads. So this is what they look like. What they do is they take two cables into one. So let's grab the ailerons, matching up the direction of the cable. So the black and the black facing the same direction, that's plugged in. Same here, black and black. Now we can check that this is the aileron quite easily by getting the receiver here, looking at the next plug in line, which in this case says AIL for aileron. And let's plug that in and obviously bring power to the plane. So just staying clear of the propeller, transmitter's on, plugging the battery in. You hear that little twitch? That means that it is in. There we go. So as I put a right input, they're showing opposite now. So as I roll right, the wind will come off and flick this wing down and roll the plane left. So if I flew it like this, this would be a fatal mistake. Okay, what I'm going to do now is grab the elevator. I like to plug these in order. So I've got the elevator next, then I've got the rudder, and I want to make sure that all of these are plugged in the exact same orientation. And last but not least, these little plugs here, which don't have the service yellow cable, means that they're just positive and negative. So lining that up, just positive and negative, we should get our lighting. So what I'll do now is plug in this extra Y lead I've just added into this plane. Here we go. Let's see. That didn't sound good. Okay, didn't feel good, I mean. Let's see. There we go, they're plugged in. So any of these gear, that's a spare port. Let's plug that in. Okay, so everything is now wired in as it should be, and I should have full controls. And the last thing we're going to need to do is obviously, I usually throw that all to the back. Check the transmitter's on. Yep. Plug her in. Searchlights are on. See this here? And we should have red for port. And if I flip it around, we have green here as well. Left aileron, right aileron are incorrect. Elevator's working, rudder's working, and flaps won't work. So first, we'll go into servo setup. I don't know if you can see that. We've got travel, so we control the angle. We go across to sub trim, and we go across to reverse. So ailerons were backwards. So now if I flick that switch, right means right now. The right wing would dip, left wing would dip, and there's quite a lot of throw on there, and they're slightly out of trim. So elevator up and down, rudder's correct. Okay, so let's leave that, go back to reverse, sub trim, go across to aileron. Look at that, as I roll it to the right, that's increasing. So if I roll it to the left, that'll balance out. See that? Now they're almost flush. The flaps are slightly out as well. That might be a mechanical adjustment to get that right, but what I'll show you is how to go into the flap mode. So going into your servo setup, scroll down to flap system. Let's click on. So you click on this to inhibit it, and we'll flick the switch we want, which is switch F in this case. So switch F is now active, okay? Switch F, select. So position 1, or position 0, sorry, is 0% flaps. So we should see nothing happening. So if we flick to position 2, you'll see that box move down. Let's get flaps. Let's drag that up, and let's see if we're getting any flap action. no flaps. Flaps are not working. Okay, let's investigate. I'll unplug. So let's follow these cables and see what we're dealing with. Okay, they're not working because they're not plugged in. That's a rookie mistake, but again, this is how we're meant to go through the motions. So we'll put flaps into aux 1, okay? So that's auxiliary 1. Flaps are now connected. Let's plug the plane back in. We've already just seen them drop. You see that? So go into flap system, switch 0. Look at them move. As I drag this dial, they're coming back to neutral. See that? So if that's negative 100, flap position 2 is that, and I can control that. So if that's negative 100, I want a split of flaps here, just a little bit. So that'll be about 50% or 25%. And then the third position is full flap. So if we increase that, that'll be effectively a barn door flap. And that'll be, you know, a really, really good flap position for taking off. So no flaps, small flaps, heaps of flaps. Okay, and effectively left rudder, right rudder, up elevator, down elevator, left rudder. Let's put this cap back on. Let's just loosely put everything back together. You can tell it's a new plane for me. I don't even know which way things go. Let's pop her on the ground. That works. Okay, last thing to do is the travel. So if we look at the roll rates, I like a lot of roll rate, but this is too much. So go travel, go to aileron, see how it says 100. We can drag that back and you can actually see the reduction. Elevator is also a lot. So let's click on those as a box and drag that back. You can see the difference there. Now if I hold down, it'll show me that's just the one I'm adjusting by itself there. So I click on that. Okay, that's about right. And then rudder. That's it.